Hi, today we're going to make pizza dough, and this is the way I make it. A couple of things I want to point out about this process. When I make bread with yeast, I use an instant yeast, and the difference between that and using a regular yeast is that instant yeast doesn't have to be proofed. However, the way we're going to make the bread today is we're going to proof our yeast so that you can see what it looks like when it does happen to be yeast that isn't instant yeast. If you're not sure, you can always proof it. And this is what we do. I have 8 ounces of water here. I've got 3 cups of flour. I've also put in about a tablespoon, or teaspoon rather, of granulated garlic into my flour. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a teaspoon of brown sugar into my water, and I'm going to mix that up so it's thoroughly mixed up like that. Then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of yeast, like that. And then I'm going to thoroughly mix that up, and then I'm going to check on this in 5 minutes, just at the counter. You don't have to do anything special with it, or you can put it in the microwave if you want, but you don't need to heat it. This water has already been preheated, so we're going to come back in 5 minutes. Hey, we're back. It's been 10 minutes. As you can see, that foamed up really nice. That's proof that that yeast is very active. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it into my bowl, and I'm going to measure out 1 tablespoon of olive oil to go with that. So here we go. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Then we're going to mix this up with the mixer. Lock that into place. It's going to take about 5 minutes for that all to mix together and form a dough, and we'll show you what that looks like when we come back. Okay, as you can see, this has formed a nice dough ball. It came away clean from the sides, which is what you want. What I'm going to do with the dough next is I'm going to put it on a floured surface right here, my little homemade flour sprinkler. And I'm going to knead it for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And once I do that, I have a pre-oiled container. This has been oiled with maybe less than a tablespoon of olive oil, and so that's going to keep it from sticking to the sides. Once we get it in there, we're going to let it rest for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then it'll be time to roll the dough out and to bake it so that we have a nice surface to add all of our pizza toppings to. It's been a few minutes since I've taken this out and kneaded it a little bit. I'm forming it into a ball like this. You don't have to. I just find it's easier. I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to cover it with the lid. And then I'm going to put it on a seedling mat, which has been set for 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's going to be sitting on that mat until 45 minutes or so from now, when we'll check back on it. And it usually takes no more than an hour to do this. So once we get this top on there, we'll let it go. We'll be back in 45 minutes. As you can see, the dough has risen more than twice, almost 3 times its original size. So we're going to take this out now, and I'm going to put it on a dusted pizza peel here, and a little bit stick to the side, but that's okay. We're going to incorporate that in with the rest of the pizza dough. It's really kind of soft and flexible. The main thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be rolling this out and getting it ready to go into the oven. So I'm making it into a kind of a ball in order to do that. And I need to bring one piece of equipment over here. This is my Pizza Roller 2000.
you don't want this to stick to the board, so that's one of the reasons why I floured it like this, because you don't want the dough itself to stick to the board. You can stretch it out by hand if you want. It's whatever you're comfortable doing. I like to roll it out because it gets a little more consistency in terms of the thickness of the dough. And then when I get this all rolled out, I'm going to do something called dimpling. And what that's for is to keep the dough from rising too much and puffing up in the oven. Just remember to turn my oven on so that I can get this in there when it comes up to temperature. So we might take a break in a couple of minutes just for the oven to get up to temperature after I get this all rolled out. Yeah, this is 3 cups of flour, so it's going to roll out a nice sized pizza, probably about a 12 to 13 inch size is what you're going to call it if you're measuring it, but we're just doing this by hand. Flip this over. You can see the dough isn't sticking to anything, very flexible. It's actually a very good crust at this point. And kind of roll it out like that. I may flip it over again in a minute, but if you're wondering, I actually had at one point penciled the size of the pizza that I could do with this, but it wears off when you wash the board, of course. Doesn't have to be perfectly round, but we're going to try to make it closer to round as much as possible. Now you can see that still needs to have a little bit of flour on the bottom, so I just flip it up halfway so that when I get ready to take it off of the board, it will just slide right off. Do it this way too. And you'll have a little bit of that flour on the bottom of your crust, but that isn't going to hurt you. You're just going to be baking it that way. Now the next thing I'm going to do, this is about the approximate size that I want of this pizza. I don't want it to go much bigger than that, or it'll be hanging over the edge of my pizza stone that I've got heating in the oven now. So let's do that dimpling technique. And all that is take your hands, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do as many as you can, press down a little bit. Probably about maybe a 1/4 inch if you're going to press down that much, because this will keep it from puffing up, and also what it will also do is it'll catch the sauce if you put sauce on it. Today we're not going to put any sauce on this for the video. We're just going to be baking the dough just so you can see the dough. But you will definitely want to be able to catch your sauce on the pizza dough itself. Keep it from sliding off if you're using sauce. Not everybody does. That's the great thing about pizzas. You can put whatever you want on it. And we're just going to lift that up, make sure it's not sticking. And then I'm going to temple a little bit more. And we'll come back in about 10 minutes or so when the oven has gotten to the right temperature to put this on the pizza stone. So for now, we're just going to take a break. Good about. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes or so. The oven has come up to temperature. It's at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to slide this in on the pizza stone right now, like this. And as you can see, it fits it perfectly. Close that. We're going to come back in about 10 minutes and take it out.
Okay, it's been 10 minutes, and so we're going to take the pizza crust out now. And yeah, it's still puffed up a little bit, but that's not the end of the world. Just makes the pizza a little more interesting. I'm going to close the oven door, but keep it on because we're going to put some toppings on it, but not for the video. This is what my pizza crust looked like after they've been baked for 10 minutes. And you can see it's ready to put sauce on. You're ready to go. And that's how you make